Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's stream. Today, I am joined by 4 screenwriters who are taking part in the New York Liftoff Film Festival. Rupert is also here today, and I'm Natalie, the General Manager at Liftoff Global Network. Let's find out who our screenwriters are. Let's start at the top. Let's start with you, Jay. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what your project is?
Yeah, hi there. My name is Jay Zellman. I am a New York-based producer, director, writer. I own a production agency in New York called Corporate Video Concepts, and I've made a career of working on corporate productions with brands. And a handful of years ago, I decided to try and make a crossover into film and television. I had produced a TV pilot that did the film festival circuit and had won a bunch of awards, and now I have written a feature screenplay called The Harlem Butcher, which has been accepted into this year's Liftoff, which I'm very excited about. And that is pretty much me in a nutshell, unless there's any other information you're looking for right now. But
No, that's good. We'll circle back round and find out a little bit more about your career today. It sounds like you've had an interesting route into where you are right now, so I'd like to find out a bit more if that's okay.
Sure.
Welcome to the stream. If you're just joining us, the chat room is open, so if you do have any questions for our screenwriters and our filmmakers, please feel free to put it in there. And welcome, Kazak. How are you doing? Thank you for joining.
Are you asking? I didn't hear it.
Oh,
Are you asking
no
me?
worries. I was just saying hi to Kazak for joining the call.
Oh, yes.
Hi, thank you. So what we're doing at the moment is we're just introducing ourselves and telling everyone what our projects were. So we'll circle round to you, but let's continue with Jim. Why don't you tell us what your script is called and what your role was?
Well, my name is Jim Freeman. I'm a retired professor of anthropology, and I got into some filmmaking and screenplay writing about 10 years ago. My screenplay is based on my many years of working with unaccompanied minors in Southeast Asian refugee camps, and also with repatriated children in Vietnam. I am a former co-founder and CEO of 2 nonprofit organizations which provided assistance for many years and still do to children that were in camps, and then also repatriated children in Vietnam. So my screenplay is inspired, while a fiction story, is inspired by my many years of work.
Amazing. Wow.
I
What?
can say more later.
Yeah, absolutely. But wow, you must have seen so many experiences and lived through the eyes of so many people being
Yes.
involved in that. Wow. I look forward
Yes.
to finding out more. Okay, let's find out more from you, Jacob.
Hi, yes. I'm Jacob Mullen. I'm a Los Angeles-based writer, director, producer as well. I co-wrote the script Centralia with my partner Dan Nguyen, who's also in the Zoom meeting.
Yep.
We're both from Texas, and we've been writing together for roughly about 2 to 3 years now. We have a handful of other spec scripts we're kind of working on as well, but this was the main one we were able to finish and get out there.
Amazing. Amazing. Dan, is there anything
Yes,
that
ma'am.
you'd like to add?
You're on mute, Dan.
Oh.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm also in TV production based in Los Angeles as well. And Jacob and I, this is our life passion to write. And we kind of did this on the side, writing spec scripts. But Centralia is based on a true story. It's a fictional depiction of the Armistice Day riot in 1919 in Centralia, Washington. The main conflict occurs between 2 unions in Centralia who compete for the same set of jobs. One of the unions is the Industrial Workers of the World, aka the Wobblies, who are generational industrialists, and they believe they deserve all the industrial jobs in town simply because they were born in the town. And then the other group is the Legionnaires, who are a group of veterans who work hand in hand with the townsmen and business owners to override the Wobblies by way of spreading communist propaganda against them.
Wow. Wow. Cool. Great. Well, let's find out more from everyone else who is here, and then we'll circle back around. Kazak, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what your screenplay is and what your role was?
Hi, I'm Kazak, and I wrote the screenplay "Protect Your Neck," and it's about racial injustice in the United States. And I just kind of wrote it because there was a lot of political unrest last year when all that thing. Well, I mean, it's still going on, but I feel like there was a lot of it last year, and so I kind of got inspired from that, and that's about it.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, the whole Black Lives Matter movement spread across the world. It's pretty big here in the UK. And as we've seen, and as we were speaking about the football before we went live, you can see that the big sports are also taking it into consideration so the world can see it. It's got the world's focus on it. So I think you're in a good place to have a screenplay about it as well. Cool. And Daniel, thank you for joining us. So as you've heard, we're all introducing our projects, your role, and just finding out a little bit more information.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yep, I'm Daniel Falcon. I lived in New York City for over 20 years and went to Columbia Film School, concentrated in writing there in the graduate program. And I'm in Maine now. I'm actually in my office, work in marketing, and just kind of I wanted to get out of New York, and it was, after being there for so long. But I've always been like a filmmaker, worked in video editing and documentary filmmaking. And I wrote this screenplay about my experiences moving to New York in the early 90s, and, and sort of about these two, this really intense friendship that forms, and these two people that really, they kind of live on the margins, and they have no safety net. And, kind of what that means, in terms of like, their survival and how far do they go to kind of help each other out, so that's pretty much my screenplay shampoo horns that,
nice.
So.
So all of our projects here are quite different from each other. There's a mix of shorts and features, as well as completely different genres. So one question I always like to ask our filmmakers, our screenwriters, when we jump on calls like this is, at what point did you know that this was the industry that was for you? Was there a particular moment in your life or a film or maybe something that you read where you were just like, this is the industry for me? Let's start with you, Jay.
Well, I think I've taken a little bit of a different path than most. I started my own production agency right out of college. And that was many years ago at this point. And I started in corporate productions. So I built a good client base and a resume of working with very big brands. And I've got to travel all over the world producing pieces for them, for marketing, communications, and some learning. But my heart was always in film and television. And I've always written screenplays, and they were generally for me and for my friends and family, and I never did anything with them. And they would sit in a box, and I would always dream about, making a movie one day. I would say about 5 years ago, I said, you know what, I have all the skills, I have all the contacts, I have all the people. What am I waiting for? I was in my mid 40s, and I was like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. So at that point, I put one of my it was a pilot that I had wrote for a TV show. I put it into action, and I produced it and went out there, and it won a whole bunch of awards and was really exciting. And then I realized, you know what, I had this screenplay called The Harlem Butcher, which has been sitting in a box basically for almost, for a whole lot of years, I should say. And I was like, you know what, let me start getting it out there. And I started putting it out there, and it's, it's been picked up by a bunch of festivals right now. So I guess my choice was right.
Absolutely, absolutely. And seeing as we're talking about the script, what is next for the script? What is it that you're looking for in order to get it up on its feet and made?
Well, it's a period piece, and it takes place in the 1920s. And in order to do it right, it's a very big budget. And I would think that this is beyond an independent film type budget. And I would think for something like this, I would need studio backing.
When you say beyond kind of a lower level micro budget, what do you think you would need to make it?
Well, when you start putting the 1920s in it, and everybody's got to be dressed from the 1920s,
Yep.
the scenery has to be from the 1920s. On the cars on the street. I mean, you could easily be at $10 million before you know it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, great. Well, if that's what you're aiming for, do you have a producer on board?
At this point, no.
Okay,
No.
so that's probably the next step in order to get into those kind of studio spaces and start touching base with sale agents and
Sure.
distributors.
I started reaching out to managers, to agents, and look, we all know it's very difficult to break through. You could have the greatest script on the face of the earth, but to get anybody to pay attention and anybody to read it, it's very, very, very difficult. And I have it sitting on the desk of a bunch of people right now, and after a while, it becomes like I'm harassing them. Every month or two, I give them a call or shoot them an email. And it's a tough process. So hopefully, this will help with that.
And something to mention about that is that this is essentially business to business. You can't take it personally if someone doesn't respond to an email, or if you have to sit there and badger them until you get a response. We always say at Lift Off that a quick no is better than someone who doesn't respond or is false promises. So
Agreed.
You can then move on to the next contact and move on, but never feel like it's personal. It is a business that you're in. So it's just something to bear in mind.
Yep. Well, at first you take it personally, but then afterwards, after you get your feet wet a little bit, you don't take it so personally anymore.
Absolutely. Okay, great. Thank you. Jim, going back to that same question, was there a particular film or a moment that made you realize that you wanted to write a script or get into the film industry?
I'm not sure that there was a specific moment. Let me say something a little more about my background and then how I came to write this script. I started out as a nonfiction book writer, and I have written 3 books that deal with Vietnamese refugees. One co-authored was particularly important, and it's called Voices from the Camps, and this is it. And it basically is the account of the unaccompanied minors that were in camps throughout Southeast Asia, were repatriated to Vietnam, or were resettled in the United States. I co-wrote this book with a social worker named Nguyen Dinh Hu, and who was prominent in dealing with unaccompanied children. And we did not start out to write a book. We started out to provide assistance to children. But after interviewing kids and doing this, we had that information and published that book. That is an underrepresented group. At the time that we worked with them, there was little known about them. So that's why we focused on that particular group of asylum seekers. And I felt that while a nonfiction book was important to have, a fictional account as a film would provide a very powerful way of conveying what these kids had gone through. And so that's what inspired me. The other thing that inspired me in an interesting sort of way is that I have a son who is doing some filmmaking and screenplay writing, and it was basically from him that I began to learn how to put together the craft, although I have had some formal training.
Amazing. So then is this a project that you're working on with your son?
He gives me critical evaluations of the material, to be sure.
Fantastic.
What I would hope for, you can see from my screen here, that I'm not a youngster. And as I say, I am retired. While I have made a documentary film in the past, which is in distribution, I'm not looking to make the film. I would look for somebody who might find this story sufficiently compelling that they might wish to make a film. So I'd be looking to sell it if I can.
So you're looking to attach a sale agent, essentially?
I think so. I think that would be best. I'll just say one final thing. I think many of us do this, and that is that the scripts that I write are inspired by experiences that I have had one way or another, either in Vietnam and in these camps, or in other places where I have worked, which is India, for several years.
There is a platform called Cinando. It's spelled Cinando. And it is essentially a directory of sales agents, distributors, and film companies that will help you get your projects to that next stage.
What is it called? CIN?
CINANDO.
Yeah, what was the last?
DO.
D-O.
Cinando. Yeah.
Okay. Cinando.
Cinando, correct.
CINANDO. Thank you. That would be helpful.
What's so great about this platform, I think there is a subscription fee, but if you do attend any film markets, it usually comes as part of the package. But what you can do on this website is you can search for a sales agent. You can then also search by genre and country, and then all of the companies will come up. And then inside that, you can see everyone that works at that company. So, for example, who you'd be looking for is acquisitions, people that are looking for new projects. And within there, they have their direct email address and also a phone number, which is perfect because then you're reaching that right person.
That's terrific.
So I would definitely look at projects that you feel are similar to yours or doing something similar that align with your ethos. And then look on that platform. You can also look on IMDb Pro to find out what sales agents or what distributors are behind a certain project. Start creating a list, and then when you are ready, reach out to them. They do say that they prefer to have a producer attached to someone so this isn't unsolicited material coming to them, because if it was, they get thousands. So if you do have a producer on board, it's a lot easier to get your email read. But it goes back to what we were saying with Jay, just keep following up, phone them, make sure you've got the right contact, and something will happen.
Good, thank you.
No worries. All right, okay, Jacob, I guess this is a question for you, and then Dan will ask you the same question. What was the inspiration behind you wanting to get into the film industry?
Yeah, it kind of started when I was young. You know, I would take my allowance money and I would save it up, and then every Tuesday when new DVDs would release, I would go down to the local like Best Buy or things like that and just buy the movies that came out. And you know, it didn't matter what kind they were, what genre. I would just kind of get as many as I could with my allowance money, and then I would watch them and basically break them down. I don't know, it just came to me at a young age, and then I went through, you know, just being a huge cinephile my entire life, and ended up graduating college and then working a year in oil and gas, being pushed that way from my family, and just always drawn back to, you know, the cinema. And in college, I volunteered at the Oxford Film Festival, which is a international film festival, which was great. I got to meet tons of great people, and I did that all 4 years of college. So after the year of work in Houston, I packed up and just moved out to Los Angeles, and with a dream to kind of get into the industry. It was tough at the beginning, but I ended up landing a gig on a TV show as a post PA, and then I've kind of worked my way up from there. But the writing's always kind of been in my back pocket as well, trying it and writing it, seeing things and breaking them down. And I don't know, it's always sort of been there for me.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that you volunteered for a film festival as you were at college. We work with a lot of film schools based in London to help us with some of the submissions, and the experience you get from just watching content, reading scripts that are being at submission at festival level is just an education in itself. So I'm really happy that you had a similar experience. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, yeah, same question to you, Dan. Why the film industry?
You're on mute, Dan.
You're on mute again.
I keep doing that. It's a combination of multiple inspiration points. Growing up, my dad was a lot older than me. It was a huge generational gap. So we got into TCN, a lot of dinner and a movie when I was little. And I picked up a handheld when I was 9 or 10 years old. I used to film skateboarding and I figured all my friends were better than me. So I might as well do something with longevity. So I picked up the camera and then it all went from there, just spending all my money on cameras, watching a ton of movies. And then, unfortunately in Houston, a lot of people look at you crazy when you tell them that entertainment could be a viable route for you. So just like Jacob, I kind of got pushed into the private wealth sector of things, and I did commercial real estate for 7 years before I decided to come out here 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And Jacob and I lived in Houston in 2015. And he told me that he just wanted to move out here with nothing in his pocket. And that was the biggest inspiration point to me. And, a couple months later, he checked in. He's like, I'm a post P on my favorite show. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And from there, I was like, well, you know what? If he did it, he got onto his favorite show. I'm packing my bags up. I'm moving. And I started writing spec script in 2011. And it went through development rungs really briefly. And, while I was making good money, I got burnt out of it. And so he was like, let's look at that spec script you wrote. And I showed it to him and he's like, dude, we got to keep writing. And so here we are 2 years later. I think we have 5 spec scripts done. We just keep churning it out outside of work. And it's turned into this beautiful thing that we love and pour our hearts and souls into. And, we're just going to keep doing it until we get one of these made, basically.
So, what are you looking for in order to get these product made? Are you looking to also direct them, or are you looking to get a crew around you to get it made? What's your kind of thoughts on that?
I'll speak a little bit and then I'll give it to Jacob. But, him and I have always imagined each other as kind of a package deal as far as creative goes, co-directing it together. If it had to be sold or if it had to be a sales agent attached to it, we could probably jump off of it. But, our goal is to handle it top to bottom creatively.
Okay, well, don't be scared of sales agents because they'll say, we want to buy it off of you. That isn't always the case. There are some that will collaborate with you, but it might be an idea to attach, if you want to direct, attach a known producer or someone that has credibility within the industry, which saves their investment. If you look at it from their perspective, it's an investment for them and they want their money back. But yeah, they definitely take projects on with the writers and the creators as well. We just got to find the right ones for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and like Dan said, that's a goal. That's definitely a goal of ours, is to be hands-on. But we're definitely, since we haven't done this before, we're definitely open to the possibility of handing it off and just getting it made. But yeah, we're looking for basically a producing partner right now, or if we can attach a great piece of talent for our main role, I think from there we could take it to studios and then be able to get it done, or find financing if we can do it cheap enough. It just depends on which route we want to go, or which route makes it more viable.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned something that's super important there, especially if you are looking to get these projects in front of sales agents, is who's attached. Again, that holds a lot of weight. If you can say you've got a named star in your project, suddenly their eyes are going to open up. They're going to take notice of you just as much as if you've got a director that's directed something that everyone knows, or the latest thing on Netflix, whatever it may be. Just having those people attached to your scripts will open doors, which is a shame because we're all creators and we know what we can make as well. But it goes back to funding, investment, and getting a return on it. It's a business at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Let's move on. So, Kazak, was it? I kept saying Kazak.
It's Kazak.
Kazak. Sorry, it's my
Yep.
British accent.
No worries.
We'll excuse it with that. Yeah, let's find out a little bit more. Why are you in the film industry? Was there a particular film or a moment when you were growing up that inspired you to be where you are today?
I wouldn't say there was like a specific film. In seventh grade, my friends and I used to make like little shorts on our video cameras, and they were very bad. But yeah, so then from there, I was like, well, I kind of like editing these things, and then I kind of got bored of editing because it's whatever. And
Frustrating?
yeah.
Yep.
that and like, it's just a lot of time. And so I went to school for digital media and production, and
Okay.
And so then I kind of just started from there, and in college I kind of went more the writing route instead of the production route. So yeah, that's kind of how it started.
And what about for your project? Is it a short film, your one?
It's a feature,
It's a
actually.
feature. Okay, great.
Mhm.
What's next for the feature? What stage are you at? Are you now looking to attach cast, a producer, a director maybe, or what's the plan for it?
Actually, I don't really have a plan for it.
That's okay.
I'm working on a couple other projects right now, and this one I think is such a big project that I wouldn't. I'm not really trying right now to get it off the ground. Um,
That's
but I
up.
mean,
That's up.
maybe in the future sometime, but I like not in the foreseeable future.
Fair enough. What are the other projects that you're working on?
I'm working on another feature-length film that I wrote, and I'm actually directing that one. And we just got a producer, so hopefully we'll have like a semi-okay budget for that, and we hope to start shooting that in August. So
Do you mind sharing what your budget is for that one?
yeah, so our budget is about $11,000 to $12,000.
Cool. So it's
It's
a
probably
micro budget feature.
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but however, it's probably one of the bigger budgets I've worked on. So.
Well, honestly, learning your craft with a lower budget is fantastic, because then when you start to get a budget, you'll be able to spend it more wisely than just being like, we want this, we want this, we want this.
Right.
Whereas you know what you can do with a smaller budget. It's very impressive to make a feature film for around the $10,000 to $12,000 mark. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice. All right, cool. Daniel, let's find out a little bit more about
Yes.
why you are here and
Oh
the
yeah. So
inspiration.
yeah, I'm here. So yeah, film has been a very big part of my life. Of course, since growing up, but it really wasn't until my sister lived in. I grew up in a small town. Originally, my sister lived in Boston, and so when I'd visit her, she would take me to see. There was a little art house cinema, and they'd show like Maya Deren experimental films and Agnes Varda and these French New Wave filmmakers, and I really, it was so different than what I'd seen, and I really kind of developed a love there, I think, for it, the craft of it.
Definitely.
It just really kind of blew my mind. Like Gus Van Sant's movie, like Drugstore Cowboy, and just the different storylines that I'd never seen before. So I went to undergraduate film school, which was more experimental film, and then went to Columbia for screenwriting, because I really felt like, with the script, it's like the blueprint of your story that you want to tell, even though it'll totally change in editing and after production. But it really was like, that's where the idea kind of comes from, and the blueprint. So I wanted to really understand more about that, and so I began writing from mostly personal experiences, and that's where my stories come from. But and this project has been it's been optioned about 4 times.
What?
Never made.
Well done.
Yeah. Never made. I've rewritten it for about 4 different time periods, based on feedback I would get from who I was working with. It had a couple directors attached. And so here I am again. I'm back to square one. It just was one that never seemed to make it to the next stage of actually getting made. And I wrote it. It's a micro budget, so I wrote it in mind, thinking like it's my first feature. So I need to really write it. Limited locations, limited characters, and just to try to be really creative with that within those boundaries. So.
Yeah, I did. There's a school here in the UK called the NFTS, the National Film and Television School. It's one of our most renowned schools in the UK. And Claire and myself, we did a course there on how to make a micro budget. And one of the things that they suggested to do was looking at the amount of shots that are within the script. Is there a way that you can make those shots long and fluid instead of changing the angle all the time? So it's things like that you can incorporate to lower the budget.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I literally, I went to meetings where, the producers would tell me, you can only have this many characters, this many locations. I mean, it was really, laid out for me in order to fit the budget. And I kind of liked that. For me, having constraints, I feel like it almost more creativity comes out of it in a weird way.
Yeah, there's that famous book, Rebel Without a Crew. Have you read it?
Oh, yes. Familiar.
That's a micro budget film done amazingly.
Yeah. So
you've had 4, I wouldn't say setbacks, but it's been optioned 4 times, but then nothing coming of it.
Right.
Has this changed your tactic? Are you now looking to make it yourself and direct it yourself, or are you still looking to get a sales agent?
Yeah, still looking for a director, from square one, producers, still trying to get it out to, hopefully somebody else who has some status that can actually, get it produced. But I feel like it's in a good, I've rewritten it kind of, I looked at it more like I'm going to write it the way that I really want it, not so much somebody telling me write it this way. I kind of went back and I rewrote it, still with a very small budget in mind, but kind of the way I really envisioned it, and that's what this version is now. But I'm starting with I'd like to find a director that kind of gets the vision of it, more reality based and poetic, kind of poetic realism.
Yeah.
And go from there. Somebody that sees it, and is not going to try to make it something else, I think. But I'm looking for director, producers.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Talking about books then, are there any screenwriting books that you can recommend for our network and for our filmmakers that are in a similar, and screenwriters that are in a similar position to you? Was there any gold within a book that you've recently read or that you can share? Anyone, feel free to jump in if you have a recommendation. None. Okay, that was for me. Save the Cat is an amazing book. I don't know if anyone else here has read it.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like
also, go on.
This one's great. The the Adventures in the Screen Trade. This one was really good. I enjoyed reading this one a lot. But yeah, Save the Cat's obviously up there.
And anything to do with Sid Field for me as well is just a massive manual that can help you get over writer's block. Okay, cool. So then, why are you guys here? So what we want to do here at Liftoff, and as part of the New York Liftoff Film Festival, is we want to start giving you guys a platform in order to pitch, to find these other people that you're interested in, whether that's a producer, a director, or just to connect with filmmakers that live locally. That's what the Members Hub is all about. So this video will also live on the Hub, but towards the end of July, I'll be sending you an email tomorrow with all of the information for the pitches. And if you're interested, you'll have 2 minutes and you can record this in your own time, and you can make it as funky and as gripping as you want. But these pictures will then get sent to us, and we'll compile them all together and put them on the Hub for our members then to reach out to you and start conversations and see what happens. If there's any way that Liftoff can help you get these projects up and going, that is the aim of these pitches. So something to bear in mind, and all of this information will be in an email, so you don't need to remember it right now, is for your pitches, what is your log line? What is your vision? What are you, or who or what are you looking for? And what are your next kind of steps? That's what we'll be looking for in those 2-minute pitches. Think of it as like an elevator pitch. We did this for the genre lab and we did it on a call and it didn't work as well. So this is why we're doing the call up front and then the pitches are coming in. But we did have one person send a pitch in and they put music over the top to dramatize it. They also added their film poster. If you have any concept art, feel free to add that into the pitch as well. Yeah, how can you make yourself stand out? So that's the pitch. I will put that all into an email so you guys can read it over. And I think the deadline will be towards the end of July, around the 28th of July. And then we'll look to get that up in the festival month on the Hub. So if you're a filmmaker watching and any of these stories that you've heard today are interesting and you'd like to find out more, wait for those pitches and then the opportunities to network with our filmmakers on the Hub. And it goes the same for you guys. You're all in the same group on the Hub. There's a feature where you can start chatting online and you can at each other. So if there's anything that anyone has said here today that you are interested in continuing the conversation, please do that. That is what that platform is for. And you can also search from there by location. So you can find filmmakers and screenwriters who are local to you. So when it is possible and as the world is opening back up, you can go and grab a drink and just share ideas. That's what it's all about. So with that in mind, I will be sending you an email. I feel like I just splurged all that information out then. But I will be sending you an email again with that info. But before we leave the call today, is there anything you'd like to ask each other? Do you have any questions for each other or for myself here at Liftoff? Silence.
It was great to hear from our fellow writers, and I look forward to hearing more.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim.
Yes,
and thank
definitely.
You.
I agree.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, cool. And as I said, if you can't think of questions now, put them on the Hub and we'll continue the conversations there.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Lovely
much.
to meet you guys and
Yes.
put faces
Nice
to,
meeting
to your
everybody.
scripts.
Nice to meet everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
See you
Thank
down
you.
the road.
Bye. Yes, definitely.
All right. Goodbye,
Bye.
guys.
Thank you.